we came here as ESL teachers, right, to work with the ESL population. But one of the things that we also do is that we work, and we have worked with you guys as translators or interpreters, right? Because we understand that there is a big barrier, a language barrier between that mom and the teacher. Like this communication here, this relationship is just very important. Oh, a positive collaboration between teachers and parents affects positively students. If you don't have a connection with mom and dad, that's going to affect the students ultimately. The problem is not only language. If we're aware of the cultural piece, we're going to be able to connect with them. The thing to do this is to compare one culture to the other. There is no right or wrong. If by any chance I talk to you and I said Americans do this, it's not that I'm judging the way you act or judging the way you think. For example, Mexicans do this, I'm not judging them because it is only one, it's just like a view of the way we act, we think, or we feel. The first part that I think is quite important is that we understand what culture is. This is mostly for you when you are meeting with this parent. But you can use it with somebody else if you have a friend from another country. The last part is that we're going to do the relationship part. Do you all have your cell phones? Because we're going to use it now. So I'm just going to ask you some world facts, some fun stuff about the world. How many continents are there in the world?
All of them.
All of them are possible. When I was in elementary, I learned that there were 5 continents only. How many countries are there in the world? 195.
Is that right?
Yeah, they have a check mark.
How many languages are there in the world? This one is easy. Yes, around 7,000 languages in the world.
Wow.
You can speak another. There is one country where you have 95% of chances of running into a person who doesn't speak the language of that country. Oh, this one. Are race and culture related? Our references, like the place where we are from, is only one reference among many. Basically, human nature is something that is universal. Okay? Culture is something that we learned from the interaction with our society. I perceive the world in this way. Sometimes I think that that's the way everybody should perceive it, or everybody perceives the world. Take a look at the star or at the plus, and at some point the circle is going to disappear. You got it?
It hurt my eyes here.
Sometimes when we are talking to a parent who comes from another culture, they see stuff that we pretend are not there. And sometimes we perceive, think, or feel things that they don't even recognize, they don't even see. In the Chinese language, there is one word that represents respect to the elder people. For us to say that respect to elders, we have to create a whole sentence. The fish, I'm going to call him John. John is there and he swims in this water, right? That's the only context that he knows, right? He eats there, he breathes there, he swims there, he has his friends there, right? In this water. Now, even though he's in the water, he is not aware of the water because there is nothing that challenges him to realize that there is water there. Now, if we take this fish and we put it in a pond, that's another kind of water. Let's suppose we take another fish from a pond and put it there in the ocean. It's not going to be the same thing. Even though it's water, it's a different kind of environment. You are here in Smithfield, or here in North Carolina, or here in the United States, and you can see this water. So the first step for us to understand the other person is to know that they come from another water. Imagine how many times you are explaining something to the parent and they're getting a different picture than the one you have in your mind. Okay? I'm not going to ask you guys to go and live to another country for some years, but something that we can do is just to compare that reality. I remember that when I got here, they were like, okay, you got 30 minutes to have lunch. I was like, 30 minutes? that was something that I was like, how am I gonna supposed to have lunch in 30 minutes? It was something that I was taking for granted. But because I come from a culture that at least you have 1 hour and a half to have lunch, because you have lunch and then you have to rest it.
Digest. Just when I took Spanish in high school, they were like, pretty much the country shuts down for like 2 hours in the middle of the day.
Mhm.
The shops close, businesses close, people take their lunch, they take a nap, and then they stay open later in the evening. Like here, everything 5 o'clock closed.
This is only lunch, but we're talking about the education of somebody. These are some of the cities where some people from this school come from. We have seen these kind of pictures, right? We have seen that it is very important to understand this.
And when he first got here, he didn't like it. He goes, I don't like it here, I don't know how to speak that language. He was just drawn it, he didn't like it here. But now when he goes there, he wants to come back. He's like, when we get here, he's like, I'm home.
Really sad. I just want to throw that out there. Like just knowing that y'all have to leave, that you like, it really bothers my heart that y'all have to go through that. I just want to say that. But on to what you're saying. Whenever somebody asks me where I'm from, I say I was born in Virginia, but I never say I'm from Virginia. Like I was born in Virginia, but I am from Clayton, North Carolina. That's where I grew up. So like.
Restrictions, and you know what rituals to follow, right? And about what you said, yeah. But the interaction with the group is that what shapes your culture. Sometimes I find that the teacher wants to say something, and it's the same concern. I mean, he has a certain concern. He says that to me, and then I just like translate it not only linguistically, but I put it in I put just some other things to give the message. And then the person gives me this message, I have to translate not that only with the language part, but also with cultural pieces, so I can give the message the right way it is. Culture is like an iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg. This is what we see, okay? When we hear about culture, this is the only thing that we are more exposed to, which is the 5 F's. So what is culture? People can say festivals, food, the flag, okay? Famous people, fashion. There is something that is deeper and bigger and more important. Why they are always late, okay? So those kind of things that we see here, they all have an answer. Why Mr. Restrepo, I don't know, dances? We have here an answer here deep inside, okay? Navajo is a tribe here in the US, right? So there is a Navajo person or man who came to the classroom. There are 2 dilemmas. If you see, the teacher was trying to be respectful. The Navajo person was trying to be respectful. Both wanted the same thing. And both both were right. So there was a dilemma, right? Like Latino teachers teaching and American teachers teaching. And we could see the differences, right? Why? Because for us, discipline is something different than might be for you. The American culture you guys are more independent. With breakfast, children go to breakfast. They take their tray and they pick what to eat, right? In another country, it's just what you are served. You have to eat it. You decide where to go. In some cultures, they say, you are not the best. Don't try to stand up, because you can't stand up. The group is the one that stands out, right? Everybody has interdependency, everybody has independency. Think about some ideas of how this school developed independent selves. If you can think of anything that we do to make the student or the teacher develop this kind of independency, where the kid has the chance to choose.
They get to choose.
Picking what interests them according to their own interests.
Other kind of culture, they don't have the option. This is what you have. Okay? Because you have to trust that I am the teacher, I am your mom, I'm your dad, and I know what is best for you, so you have to do it. Okay? You don't have the choice to do it, just do it. When I was a kid, I didn't have the chance to pick my lunch. I was just given soup. I hated soup. For real, I hated soup.
But you love
So they were like,
He loves
you
it
eat
now.
it, you gotta eat it, or you gotta eat it, like every single day. And now I love it. In the schools in Latin America, everybody uses uniforms, right? Uniforms. Because that's showing a formality. Here, you choose what to wear. Like kids can come with any kind of clothes that they want. And that's a big difference that we have. The success in love, work and play, will come to those who apply the best of each emphasis to the situation. Okay? Just be conscious of that the person who is there have been always educated to be interdependent, who care about the group. Okay? Woo! We have a break. Okay? We have a lot of similarities. I think we have more similarities than differences. But we are just gonna point out the differences because those are the ones that are causing a clash, right? We know that there's a difference with language. We all know that. But let's try to be aware of the other differences and try to do something about it. And then you guys are gonna create a beautiful poster explaining that dimension. For you guys, for Kelly, this might be the personal space. So if I cross the line, that'll be disrespectful, right? But if she comes from another kind of culture like Colombian, this is the personal, I'm not even crossing your personal space. You know, with this accent that you guys have, so it's quite different from the one that in another state you might have. I personally love that accent, the southern accent.
Do it right now. Do your southern accent, Andres. Do it.
What in the world school, there are new rules because the culture is different. You are swimming in another kind of water. Space. This is more relationship based.
That was like you were loyal to the team, like, and it wasn't about like individual, like getting a trophy. It was about the whole, collectively. You know, you celebrated your success as a group, not.
I think people either lean more towards one than the other, like indirect, or you're more, I guess, somewhat of your people pleasers, or just.
Think about this when you are in a conference with a parent. The American thinking is that whatever you think or what you think, you have to say it or write it. You don't just assume, right? The Latino population, they don't say everything. They want to give you 100% of the message, but they're not going to tell you the 100% of that message. But they just give you 60% of it. But they expect you to guess the other 40%. When you say something that is negative to the parent, you say the 100% of verbal part, and that is amplified with the things that you're saying with your body. So they're like, did she mean that or did she mean something else? So that's why they are misinterpreting all the time, because you guys are not sending any hidden message, but they are getting a hidden message. So that's why we have to be careful with the way we're saying that, okay? Because they're getting another message.
I kind of had an aha moment because I feel like I can be more of an indirect person. So like sometimes I'm offended by people that are direct. Like for instance, I love my father-in-law, but he's from the Bronx and he just is very direct. And so sometimes.
And we were talking about that yesterday because in Spanish we don't always use the pronoun, but in English that works very different.
Isn't that like obvious? So for them it's obvious, that part, but in English it's not.
You know, like where do I know where to go when I'm in the meeting? Do I go from the direct approach communication or from the indirect approach with the interpreter being there?
Well, remember that what matters the most there is not the relationship between the parent and the interpreter.
Right.
Right, but the relationship that you have with that parent. That's something that matters in education.
Proximity, space is something that belongs to all of us. So this is not my space, this is our space. So you can get closer if you want to. Like you can see how everybody's sitting and we are showing.
This person says, I am happy to see you. This is your parents, the Hispanic parents. He listens to what you're saying, but he's also looking at you. It's been a while. He's smiling, the expression that he has on his face, emphasis on your body, and that message is amplified on the other person who is like, whoa, what's going on here?
Language, say in Spanish, so I could just see the difference in the body language, and then I kind of know.
You have to put all the ideas there on the table because that's your thinking, right? They are not ever going to, and it's hard for me sometimes. Sometimes you are guys talking and I'm there quiet. Have you seen that? and they're quiet. And then you jump in like, what do you think? So then I talk, right? Why? Because you're more consensual. So you guys talk about one thing to make a decision. We just hope, or we just think that the decision is made, I just need to follow that decision. Your child is going to be in the EC program, okay? Okay, that's what they said, okay, that's what I'm going to follow, because I just expect you to take that decision for me.
That's why sometimes they don't, like most of the times, they don't ask a question. They don't want to question you. If that's your decision, they think that's the right thing to do. So they're not going to question you and say, well, I don't think that that's what we should do.
Guys, whenever you're a parent there, you are looking at the person that is at the same level you are. You see like, oh, that person is really important in education, and I really need that person to agree with me to just move ahead and do this. But in their side, they're seeing like, you are here, you are the one who has the bigger voice, you are the one who is going to tell them what to do. You see, but when we don't know about that cultural difference, we think that this is the way it is, and the other thing, this is the way it is. Families for us go like your friends, start being part of your family, but not like in a very romantic way, but in a literal way. Okay.
So your child is having a really hard time connecting their letters to their letter sounds. They know their letters, but when it comes to actually creating the words, they're having a hard time remembering.
We're still struggling on the connecting the sound and making the letter, making
Too
the.
much.
Yeah.
But she's just the language tool.
We have
Right?
literally
This is what matters.
meeting.
It might not be that the teacher is showing that she doesn't like Spanish. It might be a hard. She might have a hard time speaking some things in Spanish. That you are the ones who set the rules. The rule here is to speak in English, and that's obvious, right? But the way we have to present that has to be like differently. Okay? All right. So that's what I want you to do. Just to look at those cases and try to see like some cultural pieces that you can find there.